Well, our next guest played 703 National Hockey League games when you include the playoffs, 103 as a Vancouver Canuck, including 23 in that unforgettable run of 2011. It is our pleasure to welcome back to the show Mr. Raffi Torres. How you doing, Raffi?
Doing really well. Thanks for having me back, guys. Appreciate it.
No, we appreciate you making time. You're joining us from Toronto. First, just sort of catch us up on how life is going these days.
Life is, I don't want to say boring, but listen, you know what? I'm still active in the community. I coach youth hockey, at a high level. They're 11-year-olds, and you know what? It's kind of like a new sense of passion for the game. The way my game ended, or at least my career ended, I didn't watch a hockey game or put on a pair of skates for a couple of years, and upset with myself and some of the decisions that I made out there on the ice, and I kind of tended to forget about the first half or the first 3 quarters of my career, which were a lot of fun and exciting, and was instrumental and on a few teams. So at this point right now, I'm just kind of happy with being on the ice with the kids and seeing them develop, and talking to parents and trying to talk about my experiences throughout the game and trying to help out in that aspect.
Coaching 11-year-olds, which means pre-hitting, of course. You'll get to that, I think, at some point. But you know what? It's really interesting as I make that joke. Your first answer to us, and you bring up your decision making, which is telling. Like, I think a lot of people would probably, their ears would perk up a little bit. That we're 30 seconds into this interview, and you're already talking about some of your on-ice decision-making, which we were probably going to meander to, but you brought it up first. So, I mean, it seemed that, I don't want to use the word haunt, but it clearly is on your mind when you reflect on your career.
Yeah, big time. Listen, a lot of the hits that I made later in my career, they were at, in the early era, first half of my career, they were considered great hits. A lot of praise from coaches, teammates, always patting me on the back. I think I had trouble adjusting to the new game, and then towards the end there, especially with the last one in the preseason game, it was in a tough spot. I hadn't played it over a year. I was coming back from injury. There's a new coach in there, and after the first period, he's ripping on all the players, saying, "Is this really what you're going to show out here?" And me being one of those guys, hard on your sleeve type player, just got caught and running out of position. And, listen, I'm not going to sit here and feel sorry for myself. I got to live and die by the actions that I made out there. But, I was frustrated, right? I knew that I wasn't able to keep up out there anymore, right? The game had, in a year and a half to 2 years of not playing from injury suspensions, the game went and got real quick. And to the point where you don't play for such a long time, and speed was, I don't want to say wasn't my greatest, attribute, but at the end of the day, running out of position and trying to please people, and with my style of play, I was just trying to kind of barely hang on, and, ultimately it didn't work out. So nowadays it's a little different, right? Those big hits are, they don't really come by too often anymore. So, it's a different type of game. You got to be able to, separate the man from the puck, and try and rub him out of the play and try and get that puck at the same time is kind of where the game is at right now. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was a little bit more exciting back in the day when guys were just running around like, Hordichuk, who you guys know well, or it's like I said, it's things that, have kind of haunted me a little bit. And, I don't want to say that's the legacy that I left behind, but it definitely is something that gets brought up every time I do charity events or all this kind of stuff. They want to know about the suspensions and all that shit, right? So,
well, you talk about the hits earlier in your career and how they were more appreciated. I've heard you say your welcome to the show moment was a hit on Pavel Bure of the Vancouver Canucks in a preseason game. Tell us that story.
So you're talking about early in the NHL, my first couple games. Yeah, no, he was on Florida at the time.
Oh, Florida. Okay.
Yeah, and I through my junior career, it was I'd kind of perfected the reverse shoulder, having my head down and putting the puck in my feet on purpose, and then letting guys come into me. And the second that I would see the top of their skates, I'd kind of jump back into them. And yeah, it was. I think it was my first preseason game, and Laviolette had already been said. Like he'd already told me, hey, listen, if you think you're going to be pulling that shit that you pulled in the OHL, toe dragging guys and doing this and that, and like working all that kind of stuff. We got better guys that can do that. Start playing with an edge, piss people off out there, and you could potentially have a career at this. And so like I said, first opportunity I get, I threw it in my feet in the neutral zone, and I see of all people Burry coming, and Burry played pretty hard. If
he did.
You guys know that he's kind of a little feisty guy.
Oh, for sure.
He came in and tried to, I think I gave him a slap on the wrist at the face-off. So right away he was kind of like, "Who the hell is this guy?" Right? So he comes at me, and I throw the dirty shoulder on him, and like not only does he end up on his back, but his gloves go flying, his stick goes flying, and I'm like, "Oh shit, here we go." I don't know if you guys remember Paul Laus. Or something.
Yes, yeah.
So I had that guy chasing me around the rink. First couple shifts into the NHL, and I got the guy like that that's chasing after me. I think Pekka might have came in and said, "Hey, relax, like preseason game to Laos," and kind of got him not.
Did you weigh 2 bills yet at that point? Like you eventually got to be pretty thick.
I was like 185 at that point. Jesus, get away from me, man. Let me get a couple shifts in here, right? Like he came at me, right? Right. So, anyways, I guess I learned pretty quickly that you're going to be pulling that stuff. You're going to have to answer the ball here and there.
Hey, your dad's from Mexico City. Your mom's from Peru. You're growing up in Toronto. How do you get started in this wild and crazy game, Raffi?
Well, as you guys know, Toronto is it's got a huge hockey mecca here. So my dad, when he came to Canada, I think he was about 28 from what he says, and then my mom was about 20 or so. So we lived in a little cul-de-sac where all the boys did. I had 2 older brothers. Everybody just plays mini road hockey day in and day out. That was it. So my older brother got into hockey. My second oldest brother got into it, and then when it was my turn, by then. There was a no-brainer, right? I was already out on the road with the kids and doing everything, and then that's kind of how it started with the help of our Canadian neighbors.
You find yourself in the Ontario Hockey League with a Brampton team that is loaded. Stan Butler is the coach. He would coach World Junior teams, including you. 4 different first top 5 picks on that team, including yourself. Jason Spezza, who becomes the 2nd pick in 2001. Rusty Klesla's the 4th pick in 2000. Goaltender Brian Finley's the 6th pick in 99, I guess top 6 picks. It was a pretty star-studded junior team. Jay McClement, Jay Harrison went on to play in the National Hockey League. And, of course, you played on a World Junior team with their buddies Dan Hamhuis and Alex Auld and scored a bronze medal-winning overtime goal against Sweden. Take us through your junior career, because boy, were there a lot of highlights.
Mention the goal totals here in three straight 60 game seasons or thereabouts, 35, 43, 33. Yeah. So as you chronicled your the start to your pro career, I can see why you were toe dragging. It was working there in junior, wasn't it?
Yeah, big time. Junior was a lot of fun. Record wise, the first couple of years we struggled. We had a pretty young team. And it was tough for us to kind of, adapt to that level. But, I had some good line mates, Jeff Bateman, Van Loozen, Spezza, like you said. So we were able to click. We did pretty well at young ages. Listen, I for some reason, I was able to do a lot more stuff offensively at that level than obviously when I got up to the big show. But having a coach like Stan Butler, I was coming from a place where, pretty much before the I was out there running practices at like 14, 15, and the coach would just kind of be like watching me run the practice, right? So when I got to Brampton, Stan was huge and teaching me the game and the X's and O's and power play, penalty kill, all that type of stuff. And listen, I have no regrets. I never showed up at Brampton and said, "Hey, listen, I need to change. Things ain't working here. We need to win." Like, we had a good group there. We had a young group. We battled hard, and we lost a lot of games. We learned a lot, and we learned that we didn't like to lose, and we're going to do whatever it takes to get out of here. And I think it developed some thick skin, because the younger ages was it was kind of like was always on those teams that won a lot of games, and you didn't learn how to play hockey. You're not learning how to play hockey yet. when the score is 8-0 after the first period, right? So a lot of bad habits. So like I said, I was a little late in learning the game, but Stan Butler, all those good players there that were there, I think we enjoyed ourselves. We had a lot of fun.
How different was your game? You've already said offensively, but had you started to bring physicality to your game a little bit there, or was that something you completely had to develop once you got to the NHL?
No, I like, listen, there was some physical play there. Mm-hmm. I wasn't going into games thinking about, running guys and, that kind of stuff. I was going into games thinking, okay, am I getting 2 goals or 3 goals tonight? Right. So,
right.
Listen, the first time I got up to the Islanders training camp, I was like, God, man, there's no way I'm going to be able to grab a puck on the wall in my own zone, dangle a couple guys, and take it to the net. Like, you got to learn how to use your teammates and all that kind of stuff. The older, when you get there. So it took me a couple years. I got set down after the first, the first 2 or 3 preseason games. He's like, listen, you got some work to do. You got to work on your speed. You got to work on this. And, it was all tough love from Laviolette. Like, I didn't really like the guy, to be honest. Like, he seemed like he was coming in there. It was the year that they brought in Yashin, Pekka, Chara was there, so you could tell, like, he liked that older type group, right? So never really got called up too much. But, fast forward to when the Oilers versus the Carolina Hurricanes, in the lineup after they had beat us, I had a pretty good playoff run there and pretty good series against them. And he came to me, said, he's like, hey, listen, you figured it out. I'd take you on my team any day. So that was nice to hear from him.
Well, let's talk about that move, because as you mentioned, Raffi, 2 different stints called up by the Islanders, 31 games, no goals, 6 assists. Yeah. And then you get traded to Edmonton and explode for 20 in your first year there. I mean, it looks like the trade to Edmonton was the best thing that ever happened to you.
100% it was. Listen, I'm not knocking any guys in the island, this and that, whatever, but it was a tough, getting there, it was tough. I felt like I was not wanted. I felt like, there was, I need to be told that, hey, listen, you're liked here. It works for me, right? If there's guys in that room that were walking right by me, I was the first round pick, and you'd think like, hey, a simple congratulations, kid. We're happy to have you. Can go a long way as a young kid. And so one thing I tell young kids all the time, or guys that I deal with, it's like, hey, listen, a simple pat on the back and saying, hey, listen, you look good out there today in practice can go a long way for a kid. But listen, at the end of the day, I wasn't ready. I was a little late to the gym and start working out. I didn't really start training hard till about 19. So I put on a lot of muscle at that point. And like I said, it was the 2 years that I spent in the minors were 2 years that I think I needed. I was not ready. Like, everybody's looking at a guy like right now and, saying, oh, isn't he? And like, man, like, this kid is young, where's the rush in getting these kids up there? I know it's a young man's game now, but listen, the kid's probably dominated his whole life, right? Like, and now he's got for the first time in his life, he's struggling out there, and he's got to go through this. It's part of his development, right? So, like I said, it's going down to the minors was great. Getting traded to Edmonton was probably the best thing that happened to me, 100%.
Were you pissed off about the lockout because you score that and it scored the 20-goal season, and then there's the lockout? You probably thought there was some momentum stalled, or were you patient enough that you had the years in front of you?
Listen, I hate to say it. I wish I was a little bit more upset about it, but going into that was one of the funnest summers of my life.
That's good honesty.
I'm coming back home, like brand new Escalade truck. I'm rolling around like, I got like at this day and age, if there was videos or cameras with that, you would have been like, holy, who the hell does this guy think he is? Like, that's the type of summer I had that summer. So we carried it into into pretty much December. And I was like, geez, this is, life is too good. This is not the way it should be. I got to get back to work here. So I think I ended up going to playing Edmonton for the Roadrunners just before or after Christmas.
And you end up scoring 20 there, picked up where you left off, and you get 27 the next year with Edmonton. Yeah. So clearly no worse for wear. Everything is going right. And it's not star-studded, this Oilers team, but did you guys, at what point did you look around at each other and go, there's enough grit and determination and enough skill, obviously, that you could do something with that Oilers team?
Yeah, I mean, when we knocked off Detroit, there was, we knew that, we just knocked off a team that had guys like Chelios. Yeah, I think Yzerman was on there, Datsuk, all the big names, right? Shanny was out there, Shanahan. Listen, it was just to go back with that Oiler group. That Oiler group was when I got traded there, and I walk into the training camp for the first time. Guys like Ethan Morrow, Stevie Stales, Jason Smith, Igor Ulanov, Sean Horkoff. Pisani, they went out of their way to friggin' say, "Hey, you're coming with us for lunch. Let's go." After the first, practice at tryouts at training camp, I'm like me, you guys are talking to me, like I'm not used to this kind of stuff, right? So I'm like, 100%. So after the first dinner, I think we went out and got buckled at Joey's for, it was the longest. Let's put it this way: it was the longest lunch I've ever had in my life. Right? We were there.
That's early Joey's, by the way. Those Joey's was just getting off the ground. Then. Yeah, absolutely,
100%. So we had a great time. I was like, man, this is where I belong. And next thing you know, it's the atmosphere was great. Great group of guys. Everyone cared for each other. Would do anything for each other. We partied together. We had family parties with the girlfriends and wives, or the Christmas parties, Halloween parties. I'm like, this was a team that you wanted to play for, and nonetheless, the second we got on the ice for practice, it was all out. Guys going out there. I remember there's always a few scruffles in practice, this and that, whatever. But at the end of the day, it was such a great environment that I was happy that I was there. Let's put it that way.
I have so many follow-ups, some about the Escalade and whether it was on dubs with spinning rims, some about the long lunch at Joey's.
On 24s with about a $45,000 system.
On 24s?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
You can hear me coming, leaving Markham and Stouffville through the city. I'd get down to the city. I'd literally park the car right in front of the club and be like, "Hey, hold it for me. I'll be back in 3 hours." But the good old days.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, that could be a podcast episode in and of itself. By the sounds of it, Raffi.
It gets ugly. I don't know if my wife's listening right now.
Yeah, exactly. Let's fast forward then to your year with the Vancouver Canucks, where you signed the free agent contract to come and join the Canucks. And 1 month into your tenure as a Vancouver Canuck, you score your first career NHL hat trick, and lo and behold, it's against the Edmonton Oilers. Tell us about that night.
Listen, that was one of the most special nights of my career, 100%. I think it was what's his name? I can't remember the broadcaster, but I think he said to me a couple of years back. He said, "Hey, listen, I got a trivia question for you. Who's the only ex-Oiler to come back and to play against the Oilers at Rexall and score a hat trick?" And like me, of course, I'm like, thinking like, great, look at the names that are out there, right?
Yes, right, yeah.
I'm like, Gretzky, Messier, Curry. Like, he's like, no, you idiot. Like, so it was Gene Principe.
That's right, Gino. Yeah.
I'm like, come on, man. There's no way. He's like, yeah. Can you believe that? I think, listen, like the first two goals were just like, hard work and get to the net goals, my type of goals. And I think the third one was a gift from God, because I cut into going into the zone. I cut into the blue line, and I throw a quick backhand, along the ice, and lo and behold, it finds the net. And right then, I wanted to jump in the third row, to be honest with you. But you know what, Manny was out there, Juice and all those guys, and Cass. Like, listen, it was I love playing Vancouver, man. Great group of guys, and like I said, it was a special moment to go through that with those guys, especially you just get on a team, you want to show an impact. I felt like at that point that, okay, listen, I'm here. Let's make the best of it. Great group, and so on and so forth.
I've heard you call Manny your favorite line mate. Refresh us. Who else played with you on the opposite
Yannick
lane?
Hansen.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Listen,
that's a good group, man. Wow.
Me and Manny are the complete opposite. He's like a professor when it comes to, so it was almost like a father to me at the rink,
Mm-hmm.
On the road, he'd keep me in check. He's like, hey, listen, make sure you're in early, big one tomorrow, all that kind of stuff. He got me on Sudoku, or the crossword puzzle, USA crossword puzzle the next morning. I was waking up every morning, having breakfast and fruit with him, like really brought a lot of good tendencies to my life and to my game. Still a big believer that, so a lot of the stuff that he would say was like, hey, let's keep it simple out there. We don't need to be flashy. We got Yannick, who's a little Energizer bunny on the right side. Let's get him involved. But Yannick was definitely, he had some offensive talent that I think he would, kind of fool a lot of people. But, it was a good energy line. We were able to shut down some second lines and just, for the most part, I think throughout the season, I think we all played a lot of other third lines, which was, like I said, like on that team, everybody knew their role. Like, I'm sure you guys have all heard Juice's locker room speech to the boys a few weeks back. It's 100% correct. Everybody knew their role on that team, and when you have something like that, and everybody's willing to do what it takes, you can have a pretty special year like we did.
Did Manny's eye injury affect you, knowing what he meant to you as a line mate when he came out and when he was in so much pain and his career's in doubt? How did that affect you?
Well, I felt terrible for him and his family. At the end of the day, like you said earlier, we're human beings, and to see him go through something like that at such a point in his career where we're on the verge of doing something special, it was terrible. I felt for him. Not only that he wasn't able to play, but potentially lose the vision in his eye and all that stuff. And it was tragic. I'd be telling you right now, when that happened, it was something in the room shifted, and I was like, oh no, this is not good. Being the guy that he is, like, the next days he's come in, I think he had to have surgery right away. And we knew at some point he was going to get back out there, whether, the doctors were like, hey, we probably shouldn't be doing this, or, his family. Like, that's how much Manny meant to this team and what he was willing to do for the boys. Injury is
a big part of that playoff run for you guys. Hey, it happens. I don't think you guys would be alone in saying, yeah, if we would have won the Stanley Cup.
Right.
Is that the first place you go to whenever you recollect the Stanley Cup run, or do you go to someplace else as to the reason why it didn't happen?
No, you know what? Like, listen, so many good special times on that in that run, right? You had your Burrows against Chicago. Kessler played out of this world against against Nashville. Obviously, Bobby Lou still on his head throughout the thing, but we also got help with Schneider along the way when needed, right? It seemed like there was a lot of special moments in that playoff cup run. But listen, I'm not one to dwell on, I don't look back and say, oh, it shoulda, coulda, woulda. Like, listen, injuries are part of a team winning a cup, and you got to face some adversity there. I think we did our best. We gave it everything we had. I know that. Speaking personally, after the last series, like, I was a mess. I was, mentally, physically beat down, maybe a little bit more than I was when I was with Edmonton. But at the same time, it's, I'm still extremely proud of the way we played. We pushed back. We had a ton of adversity. Like you said, we had injuries. Guys stepped up along the way. It was a special 2 month run with a lot of good guys.
Yeah, lest we forget, Canucks fans always bemoan losing 2 Game 7s in the Stanley Cup final. So has Raffi, one with Vancouver.
Hold on, I got a better one for you.
And one
so
with
not only have I lost in 2 Game 7s in the NHL, but the 2 years that I spent in the minors, lost in the my first year there with Bridgeport in Game 7 against Chicago. And then my second year when I was traded to Edmonton, I lost in the finals with Hamilton.
Right?
So 4 times. I'm like, when it comes up at the old the retirement party and this and that, whatever, I'm what you consider a big time loser, right?
That is unbelievable. Wow. You're right. You got a lot of playoff games under the belt there.
Holy man, Jesus.
Hey, let me ask this question since we're all friends now. We mentioned the Hattrick against Edmonton 1 month into your Canucks career. I believe you went 23 games without a goal right after that. Were we harsh?
No,
How much were you hating us at that point?
Can you believe something like that happens in the same start? So you can imagine the life I was living after that hat trick for the next friggin' 2 months, right? I rolled the shit out of that thing. But you know what? And then when after everything was said and done, and we're at the owner's house for the party, the going away party and the farewell thing. He's got his arm around me. He's got his arm around my wife. He's like, we're gonna bring you back. We're gonna bring you back. We're so pumped. What a great year you had for us. I'm like, I'm knocking my wife on the shoulder. I'm like, see what I tell you, like a couple of years here, this is gonna be great, right? Like, ultimately it came down. They didn't bring me back because they were concerned about the 23 games without.
Oh wow.
So that's the note we got. My agent got from Gillis at the time.
Wow. Well, let's get to a couple of the highlights in that cup run for you. First, you missed the first 2 games against Chicago because you were suspended, but it doesn't take you long to make an impact on the series. You hit Seabrook in Game 3. And he misses the next couple of games. You left your mark on him and on the series. What's going through your mind in that Chicago series where you guys win the first 3 and look like you're going to cruise past your arch rivals, and then it all comes coming back at you? This wave of red and black.
Really good. Things are rolling amazing right there. I'm coming off of, like you said, a suspension. For me, going into the Game 3, it's like, all right, I need to make an impact. I got to show that do something here. I'm on the 1-year contract. These guys, this is what they brought me in for, playoff hockey. So, I think the first chance opportunity I get, I lay Seabrook out. I think it definitely was a penalty. If you listen to the commentating at the time, they're killing me. He's just coming. I think it was Simpson, just tearing me apart, right? Like, I'm like, listen, in my eyes, I saw the puck. A lot of people say the puck was right there, right? So, listen, behind the net.
A lot of people.
Many people are saying the puck was there.
Right? Ready? In my eyes, I grew up idolizing Wendell Clark. All I see is him behind the net, blowing up guys and stuff like that. And I'm just like, man, this is my opportunity. I get involved, and what are you going to do? Like, listen, I'm not, by no intentions, I've never gone into a game like, I'm going to hurt someone bad today, right? It was just, it was the timing, and go out there and make an impact, and then and move on, right? So, but in terms of them coming back, yeah, that was, listen, at that point, and for me being on the team, I was like, man, like, are our big guys going to step up? Like, they've, there's only so much that third line and fourth line guys can do, right? So, no, it was nice for Burrows to kind of seal it, right? But you know what? Made for a great hockey, great entertainment, right?
Oh my goodness,
sure did. Yeah. We'll remember Game 7, the Slay the Dragon game, and the other game we'll remember because I'm not sure I've heard Rogers Arena as loud. I thought the roof was coming off the building. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup final, 19 seconds remain, and you score the game winner.
Yeah, like I was just in Vancouver a couple weeks ago, and we were on the panel doing a talk, and we are talking about this, and nobody got the joke because I'm up there. I'm like, after the game, I'm talking to my wife. I'm like, I'm still trying to figure out how the hell I was on the ice with 19 seconds with my So, but it went unheard at the function that we were at. But like I said, that's one thing I liked about. I'm drawing blanks with the coach's name there, Vigneault.
Vigneault, yeah.
Like, he was the type of guy that he knew right away. Players coach. If I was going, and if I was doing some stuff that positive to help out this team, he was going to find me some ice. And it was like almost like I look up and he's like, yeah, you're going. I'm like, boom, jump out there. Obviously a friggin' world-class play by Kessler to keep that puck onside, to keep himself onside. Throwing it over to Yannick. And like I said, good things happen when you go to the net. I can show that clip day in and day out with my 11-year-olds because none of them want to go to the net. To get the garbage goal. They all want to do a friggin' Matthews or McDavid, go around 16 guys on the ice and score a goal. But like I said, my dad's always said, go get to the net. That's where all the action is. And those are the things that were going off in my head. Get to the net, and was able to tap one in.
Do you have that photo or that puck? I hope there's something commemorative from that moment.
All right, it's in I have a photo in our bathroom on the main floor. Just a regular looking bathroom, and then you have a picture of me going to the net. It's a picture of from behind the net. So it's got Thomas, it's got me tapping it in, it's got Chara on the ground. It's a pretty cool picture. Yeah, it's in the bathroom of our house.
Probably courtesy of Jeff Vinnick, I would guess. The Canucks photographer.
Amazing.
You're a guy that we've talked about all the physical play. You mentioned Hordy. We had him on a year ago, basically, talking about the very same sort of stuff. And he had this very sort of, both of Matt and I couldn't sort of believe the awareness he had about his role in the NHL, about the dangers of playing in the NHL and doing what he did, which was a lot of fighting, obviously. And he was very sort of, at peace with what he did in the NHL, but also acknowledging the risks, both for himself and the guys that he punched. I don't think he had any regret, Matt. I don't think I'd place it as that.
No, I think he felt like he sort of escaped a lot of things.
He kind of felt lucky.
Tough guys, yeah.
Not only were you the hammer, but you were the nail sometimes, and even the hammer can get injured in the National Hockey League. Where are you on that, as we know a little bit more about brain injury and that sort of thing? What's your fear level like?
Listen, if you think for 1 second that I roll around town and this and that, I'm like, and I heard a lot of guys out there. By all means, that's not the way I think. I was just a guy that I lived off the crowd. I wore my heart on my sleeve, and like I said, I felt like if I wasn't out there playing on the edge, which sometimes got me in a lot of trouble, that they would find somebody else that would. And that's after about the fourth year in the league, it's like, I'm here to do this, and this is what I got to do. And if listen, the hit on Hossa when he's laying on the ground out there, I got Tippett coming up to me after the game, and he saying I loved it. It's a great, solid, hard hit. I got Shane Doan, who I admired as a kid, played hard. He's telling me great hit, nothing wrong with the hit. So it's like, is there any onus on Hossa, or is it all me? Am I just a headhunter out there? Like, and then of course me, listening to all the the media and this and that. Like, it was easy. I'm an easy target. I get it. I don't help myself. I have the same problems. I see people walking across the street with their head down, and I'm rolling down the window. Put your fucking head up, man. Jesus Christ.
Did you worry about your health at all, though? No, never mind. You clearly cared about the people that you accidentally hurt, but did you ever worry about yourself?
Listen, I don't know. I guess here and there, I get a little worried sometimes. There's stuff, in the memory bank that, people bring up, and I'm just like, oh, that happened? No, I don't remember that. But I'm sure it's part of the, a lot from what I hear, it's kind of like, it's the stuff that goes on with athletes as they, as they get older, they forget a lot of things and this and that, whatever. So I just hope that, listen, I'm always concerned. I just want to be able to have a good conversation with my kids when they're at the age that they really want to know what their dad was, because if they go on the internet right now, it's all bad, right? It's all negative.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Is it?
I don't know about it.
One thing they'll find, Raffi, on the internet if they do search your name, and as people have learned in this interview, you're a great character and a fun guy to chat with. The Daily Show searches you out. It's a wink and a nudge sort of story about immigrants, infiltrating North America. And they find out that the Mexicans are taking over the National Hockey League, and they seek you out for a story. And I remember I was a Daily Show aficionado, especially back then with Jon Stewart. Yeah. And I remember your story pops up. I'm like, I can't believe it. And
I've never heard this.
Oh, talk about when they reached out to you and pitched you the story. What did you think?
Listen, you said you knew what was going on with the show. I had no idea what this show was about, right?
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So, and then as I watched the show and realized that it's kind of a gag, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God. Like, when I officially saw it, I was laughing my head off, man. This is hilarious, right? It's good stuff. I can't remember the name of the interviewer. Do you remember that?
I don't remember who did it. No. Yeah.
That funny guy. Like, in between takes, we couldn't even do the take because he had me pissing my pants. So I don't know what he's talking about. He's like, it was just so many comical stuff that had happened. But listen, what a great experience that was. I remember I have a lot of family in Chicago, and they got back to them, and they would reach out. They're like, "Holy, how did you get on this show?" Like, who picked you? Like, I don't even know what it is. But as the years went on, and I started watching, I'm like, "Oh, this is quite quite good. It's pretty entertaining and stuff. So that was a pretty nice time in my life. I think that was just after the cup run with Edmonton.
Yeah,
but,
it was.
It was a lot of fun. Listen, I wish that we could that side of me is great. I enjoyed it. It was something different, right? So it was cool.
Not a lot of NHLers made it to the Daily Show.
No.
You'll have that. Yeah. You mentioned you're back in Stouffville near Toronto. Wife Gianna, the 2 kids. I know you're involved in charitable efforts with Hockey Helps the Homeless and alumni events with the Canucks and Oilers as well. Tell us about family life back home.
Listen, family life is for anybody who says that it's easy and this and that. They're talking bullshit. There's it's listen. It's I enjoy it. It's there's no easy days. Like, it's like that. I'm pretty fortunate that, I had a nice career. I don't really have to do, I kind of do things as they come along. I run some hockey camps in the summer. My little guy is a beautiful little hockey player. He's only 10, 11 years old, but he's a smarter player at 10 than I was at 25, right? So it's nice watching him develop and falling in love with the game. And my daughter's a very active girl. She does cheer, plays volleyball, and the thing that surprises me is she's amazing in school, actually enjoys it, right, which is great. So, and my wife is the rock of the family. She without her, it's there's days where, I just get a little frustrated with not, having a certain purpose or something to do, because you can, there's nothing wrong with being involved in youth hockey, this and that. But I think with my personality, I always want more, right? I want to be needed and all this and that. So without her, there is no Raffi Torres, and our family is amazing. And, kudos to her, because she's the one that holds everything together. And, like I said, I'm very happy that I have 2 healthy kids, and we have, all their grandparents are around, and we have a great family, and I enjoy being a father for sure. Well,
speaking of amazing, I think that sums up this interview as well, Raffi. What a fantastic chat. You had us roaring, buddy. Appreciate this. We wish you all the best. And if you're ever back here in Vancouver, come on by. See us here at the Wall Center. We'd love to catch up in person.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. I appreciate it.